for our social block this morning, and we're talking about the roles of chieftaincy when it comes to governance. Now, they're supposed to be an active, they're not meant to be in active politics, even though chiefs play critical roles in local governance. Now, with the spate of chieftaincy disputes, some towns and villages are missing out on development because one or more chiefs are claiming to be the rightful ruler. In our social block today, Catherine Frimpong reports on the effect of chieftaincy in development within our country.
Within Africa and even in the world, Ghana is known for rich cultural background. Several years ago, traditional authority was revered. It was a pre-colonial institution of governance. But today, our cultural development keeps dwindling. The current chieftaincy dispute continue to tarnish the image of the country, all because of our inability to permanently solve the problems that arises about chieftaincy. Chieftaincy disputes in the country do not order well for development. Disputes that arise from the issues of who becomes a chief have secularized throughout the country from the north to the south, and there is no pinpointing solution to settle this problem. But its impact on development is glaring. The 1992 Constitution provides for a comprehensive chieftaincy as well as the established customary and traditional laws which have existed with time. But the disputes make it impossible for their contributions to governance. A simple national exercise like the street naming and house numbering project had been delayed by such disputes in several parts of the country. Only 30% of the project had been completed in Nkranza in the Brongahafo region as of September 30.
We had a committee set up to discuss the names that we have got from Nanano and the areas that they are to be erected. So after erecting some of the names, they were uprooted, indicating people not being happy with some of the names. I thought that once they were well represented on the committee, it was enough. But I've come to realize that after the committee's choice of names, I still have to take it to the Omanhene for approval.
The exercise had to be put on hold in some part of the country due to this same problem, chieftaincy disputes. The location of a developmental project in Jema in the Kintampo South district of the Brongahafo region had also sparked controversy between the chiefs and the district chief executive. The people drink from this stream. The water project had also stalled.
Pipe was pipe no. Almost started so be my and no one no mama mania. What then hon swab for ya hin same with Jema and dear court on cry a samana on sea court order. They say they hear the DC no ha. I already say and Chebia in a Bamachi abano. But
according to the DCE, a new chief has been introduced to him.
The old chief wants to be brought into the picture. But me, if they show me this is the new chief, I have to deal with the new chief. I cannot put him aside and deal with the old chief. It will create a lot of problems for me, But he tries to, vent his anger on me, and think that I should be dealing with him, which is not possible. So that's the background to any comment that he will make.
The situation is obviously retarding development and smooth governance.
We can only achieve the development that we want for our people if we have absolute peace. And that requires us to forge that kind of collaboration with the chiefs to enable us mobilize all the resources available for the development of our region. Yes, we have had some few cases of some kind of misunderstandings between some of our chief executives and the chiefs. Whenever our attention is drawn to such situations, we don't sit over it. We invite them, discuss with them, and try to bring them together.
Parts of the northern sector remain woefully underdeveloped due to chieftaincy disputes, but the quest for their involvement in governance keeps increasing. In cases where there exists more than one faction posing to be chiefs, who do you involve in decision making? So the role of the chiefs in modern democratic governance has become highly debatable. Perhaps it is high time our chiefs try to live above these disputes before it is considered a retrogression of Ghana's development in the 21st century.
Okay, so a big thank you to Catherine Frimpong for that little expose there. Now, in the studio with me, I have a very special guest. Now, you're going to have to forgive me on this because I'll give his official title, and he has other titles as well, which will also fill you in on. With me, I have Nana Kojo Opey IV, who's sub-chief for Yilo Krobo. But you also have another side in Abri, is that correct?
Yes, please.
Which is?
I have some. My forebears lived there many years ago.
Okay.
So I'm the Nkoso Hini of the Aguna family, Titipegi Aguna family of Eburi and Adam Robe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're also chairman of the paramountcy stool of 3 different families?
Yes,
okay.
For the Yilo. Yes, for the Yilo state, Somaya, there happened to be misunderstanding between the 3 families. That is the Akrabetu family, the Ologo family, and the Nwe family, which previously they've all been chiefs. After the death of the late chief, there arose misunderstanding among the 3 of them. It brought bitterness and confusion. The case went to court, but I've been able to bring it down, where today I've smoked peace pipe among the 3 families.
Okay.
They live in perfect peace now. So last week, the Ochin Hini, who is the president of the Eastern Region House of Chiefs, has given me 13th of next month to bring the memorandum of understanding that have been signed by the 3 people before the installation of another Kono.
Okay.
So everything is under control, and there's perfect peace in the Yulu state now.
Okay,
No
that's
trouble.
good to hear.
Yeah.
All right, now you saw the video. You know, a lot is being put on some of the disputes, obviously, which is what you're talking about as well. Before we get into that, since you're already doing a lot, I want you to just give us a brief description of what it is that you do in regards to development of your communities and your areas.
As chiefs,
Yes, as chiefs.
you know, from time immemorial, chiefs have been considered as the apex of wisdom, and that role is supposed to continue. You know, people immediately they get into troubles or misunderstanding, seek refuge with chiefs or their palaces. Now, if a chief happens to be corrupt or biased, there is bound to be confusion in wherever he's ruling, because you are endowed, and it is by the grace of God that you have been put there. After God, who created the universe, the second in command is supposed to be a chief, who have not only your family, but the entire people you control. So when you follow the rudiments of money and partiality, you throw a whole state into confusion. Or where, for instance, your interest is in land, where you want to dissipate family lands or stool lands, there is bound to be confusion. And that is the main problem that is happening right now.
Okay. And do you believe that that is the main reason why the development is, you know, coming to a pause in certain areas?
Yes.
Because obviously if the government has to deal with somebody, and that person hasn't been identified or has been identified but the people are not accepting it, then obviously there will be pauses in these kind of development issues.
Exactly the case. You see, many years ago, because funds were not available, chieftaincy was a beautiful kingdom. But currently people go and look for money, and they use the money. You know, when it comes to chieftaincy, it's the head of families, the kingmakers who make kings. You cannot be a king and make a king. So people look for money, and start bribing the family heads. And family heads, because of small money that are given to them, lose their guard in the choosing of the right people. People are supposed to be about 2 or 3 candidates should be selected, look at their background, look at their potentials, what they can offer the community when they are still as chiefs. But when it comes to money, corruption surfaces, and people finally regret in putting the wrong people into the stool.
All right. Also in the video, we just saw that there was a bit of tension between a chief and a DCE or an MCE.
Yes.
What do you believe the relationship should be like between the two different parties?
There should be harmony. There's supposed to be a cordiality between the MCE and the chiefs. You see, the chiefs are supposed to be the custodians of heritage, of land, people, and whatever relics have been left for them. And the MCE or the municipal chief executives are political heads. So they're supposed to liaise with these custodians of authority to bring progress.
Do you believe they're doing so effectively?
Oh yes, there's a perfect peace in the Yellow State. There's a cordiality between the paramountcy and the municipal chief executive. Yes.
Okay. What do you feel about, because you mentioned a little while ago about before when there were hardly any telephones.
That's right.
You had a lot of peace within your your communities and your kingdoms.
Yes.
How has Western influence and technology played a role in maybe affecting the way you guys help in regards to governance?
Again, repeat the question again.
I said, how do you feel that? How do you feel about Western influence? America, UK, people coming back from that side of the world, and also technology now. How did they affect the customary things that you do?
Okay, for instance, in the Krobo district, we perform the depot. When you reach the age of puberty, you have to undergo that, and you are cleansed, bath, and we say that has been doing. Currently, because of education, and because many people have been traveling far and wide, they may reach the age of puberty, and they may not be available for that score of custom to be done for them. For instance, if your daughter is in the US or Britain, you would not be able to bring her down for that sort of thing to go through. Not only that, some parents think it is non-Christian, to perform that kind of thing for their daughters. And it has also brought a lot of confusion, sometimes between in marriage, the mother of the daughter would like that thing to be done, whereas the father can oppose it. And it has brought a lot of also misunderstanding in marriages. But the totality is that the issue of some of those rituals or whatever you call it is being lowered, honestly, because we're copying now the Western culture, what is available, and sometimes you even meet your people, they don't want to speak the language, because in the language, I don't understand it. So it is true.
Okay.
Things are happening.
All right. So just before we do wrap up, what would be your advice to any other chief? Because you managed to bring peace in your kingdom and amongst these 3 families and the rest.
Yes.
What would be your advice to other people who are going through similar issues as yourself, and yet we're also looking at them that these may be the people who have the disputes and are also being corrupt?
Yes, I would advise chiefs not to be biased. You see, there is a proverb in our kingdom that, for instance, when you brought up twins, you don't have to lie on one side, you lie on your back. Right. So the twins can have the advantage of sucking your breast here and there. That is the position of a chief. You have to be neutral, and you have to love people. You don't have to let money be your watchword. And go back into history. Many years ago, from the days of civilization, chiefs were respected. And people went to them and they were able to have solution of their problems. But currently, there's a high corruption, where you can influence a chief easily, and that is not the best. Right. For instance, you should be able to be imbibed with a lot of wisdom, because people run to you because once you are a chief, they consider you as the apex of wisdom, where you can have some sort of solution to a problem, and coming to you when they don't have it, you mess the whole people. For instance, people come to me because they know I have wisdom, I can direct, and they don't go back regretting. That's why I've been able to bring peace between the warring factions now.
We live in stay away from corruption.
Yes.
Non-bias.
That's right.
All right. I want to thank you so much for coming in this morning and educating us a little bit more about the chieftaincy role that you all play. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Nene Kojo Opey IV, sub-chief of Yilo Krobo.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me, and I think try to do your best and get in touch with us regularly.
I will do so.
We are so pleased.
I'll make it a point
Have
to
a
come
blessed
down.
day.
You too, sir.
Okay.